very capable. Very capable.
Capable.
That had nothing to do with the agenda planning. You might look like it.
Okay. Yeah. In Puerto Rico. Okay. Oh, there it is. Welcome. Call the meeting to order, November 1st, Wednesday. Oh, November 1st.
Deputy Mayor Lowry,
Here.
Councilmember Feller,
Here.
Councilmember Kern.
Okay, the council will be meeting in closed session to discuss item 1 on the closed session agenda, conference with labor negotiator involving the status of negotiations with the Oceanside Police Officers Association non-sworn. Item 2, conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation in the matter of one threatened case. And item 2B, conference with legal counsel on existing litigation in the matter of BGT Media LLC versus City of Oceanside, case number 37-2017-4199.
Her microchip, her most up-to-date vaccinations, a free bag of food, a free vet visit. So lots goes into that $95. When you come on down to our San Luis Rey Road location, we're open from 10 to 6 for adoption, 7 days a week, unless it's a special holiday, and she'll be there waiting. But if you can't make it to one of those, we have 2 Oceanside mobile adoption events this month. We're at PetSmart on the 11th. And all the details are on our website. And then we're also at Pier K9 on the 25th. So good holiday. If you're thinking, oh, you're home for the holidays, it might be a good time to add a puppy to your family. We ask that you go down to Pier K9. And that's it. Thanks so much.
Here we go.
Next, we have the Oceanside Veteran of the Year and Oceanside Veteran Nonprofit of the Year, Councilmember Kern.
So if I can have my colleagues join me up here, we're going to honor our Veterans of the Year and our Organization of the Year. We've done this every year for the last 11 years. So thank you all. Well, you want to adopt the dog? So, anyway, like I said, for the last about dozen years, we've been actually honoring our Veteran of the Year here in Oceanside and North County and our Organization of the Year. So right now, I'm going to start off with Michael Frank, if he can please come forward. And your lovely bride can come forward, too. You don't want to? Okay. And what happens every year is I work with the Veterans Association of North County to come up with a nominee for our Veteran of the Year. And I sponsor a table down at the San Diego County Veteran of the Year ceremony down in San Diego every year. And it'll be next week on Thursday, so we'll all be down there for lunch. And hopefully Michael will actually be County Veteran of the Year. Like I said, I've never had a County Veteran of the Year. I've had an Organization of the Year years ago with the Armed Forces YMCA, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I have to read. Oh, no, I need to read this. Whereas Michael Frank was named North County Veteran of the Year by Oceanside Councilmember Jerry Kern and Veterans Association of North County, and whereas after serving both in the United States Air National Guard and the United States Air Force, I'm very partial to them because I am an Air Force veteran myself. And I think we're the only 2, 3 or 4. United States Air Force from February 13, 1969 to June 10, 2007. Mr. Frank received an honorable discharge and attained the rank of Senior Master Sergeant, way above me. I think I was a Staff Sergeant. Whereas the Director of Operations of the 1st Annual North County veteran stand-down in January 2017. I actually went to that last year, and that was an amazing event. We had all of those veterans out there at Green Oak Ranch, gave them showers, gave them food, got them connected with services, so it was really a great event. He was responsible for the setup, transportation, logistics for the 3-day event, thus ensuring a safe, secure, reliable environment for the homeless veterans who were served. And whereas Mr. Frank keeps Escondido, American Legion, and the VFW functioning weekly by managing any of the responsibility of building maintenance, financial management, material support, also while leading the American Legion of VFW Riders and serving as a key elements of the Veterans of Foreign Work leadership team. Now, therefore, the Oceanside City Council commends Michael Frank for his tireless dedication and commitment to our military veterans, their families, North County, San Diego, hereby congratulates 2017-2018 North County Veteran of the Year. Congratulations, Mike. So let's stay right there, and if I can have the North County Veterans Association of North County come up, Chuck Atkinson, which everybody knows. Actually, I'm not going to read all this, but I just want to talk a little bit about Chuck, and I want to talk a little bit about the Veterans Association of North County. It was a partnership with the city of Oceanside there at the old police station there on Mission Avenue, and it's become a service organization that everybody basically tries to emulate throughout the county now, throughout the nation. Chuck has built that into an organization that supports veterans throughout the region, so the Veterans Association of North County, it's not just Oceanside. So with Scott Wolf over there, who was our past Veteran of the Year nominee, it connects veterans to services, it gets them their VA benefits, it gets them connected outreach, they work with interfaith, it gets them housing, it gets them all those things that these veterans need that are coming back. And it's not necessarily homeless veterans, it's veterans that really don't know how to navigate the system of the VA. So it really is helpful to come. I know every time I go in to see Chuck, Scott's over there in his office talking to a veteran. Every time I go in there, he must see 20, 30 people a day. So it is really a great asset for our community to have Chuck here and the Veterans Association of North County. And it is a partnership with the city. I mean, the idea that the city has really stepped up and to serve our veterans. That's why I have all the council members up here. All the council members have actually supported this. So anyway, Chuck, here's the plaque. Go along with your thousands of others. Take a pic. Okay, there's one more photo op I want to do, and I see Stryker came in and Scott's here. Any other past Veterans of the Year here? I want the past Veterans of the Year to come forward. Stryker, Scott. Then we'll do one group picture, and then we'll be done.
Put the tall guy next to the short guy, really? Ready? Thank you.
Okay, before I go, though, I'm going to let Chuck tell us about what's going to happen at the Veterans Association North County for Veterans Day.
Okay, on November 11th, it's a Saturday, we'll have the Veterans Day ceremony at our facility here at 1617 Mission Avenue, and everyone's invited. It's a day for celebration of our veterans, and after the ceremony, we'll have light refreshments. We look forward to seeing all of you there. Okay. At 10 o'clock in the morning, start sharp. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all. Did my colleagues want to say anything? Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Next, we have a proclamation for National American Indian Heritage Month. Would the following members of the U.S. Ray Band of Mission Indians please come forward? Mel Vernon, Captain. Diana Caudell. And Albert Serta, Jr. Proclamation in honor of National American Indian Heritage Month, November 2017. Whereas Native American Awareness Week began in 1976 and recognition was expanded by Congress and approved by President George Bush in August 1990, designating the month of November as National American Indian Heritage Month. And whereas National American Indian Heritage Month promotes awareness of and appreciation for the history and culture of American Indians, and whereas, as the first to live on this land, Native Americans and their traditions and values inspired and continue to inspire the ideals of self-governance and determination that are the framework of our nation. And whereas during this month we celebrate our commitment to respect and preserve the rich Native American traditions, and whereas we honor Native Americans by reaffirming our responsibility to ensure each generation is defined by a greater sense of opportunity than the last, and by endeavoring to shape a future in which every citizen has the chance to build a life worthy of their hopes and dreams. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Chuck Lowry, Deputy Mayor of the City of Oceanside, California, do hereby proclaim November 2017 as National American Indian Heritage Month and encourage our community to recognize and honor our rich Native American culture, issued this first day of November 2017.
This is a very important acknowledgement that the community honors the people who were here way before we got here. And this band of Indians has their annual powwow, and it is the longest-lived event in the state as far as we can tell. Surely older than Oceanside. So every year when they have the powwow at the Mission San Luis Rey, it's, when was it just recently? Second weekend in June. It's completely overwhelming how sophisticated it is, yet how historical it is. So I can recommend that anyone who is interested in it take a look online at the...
I'm going to look at San Luis Rey Mission Indians.org or something like that. Just put in powwow, you see it. You can go on YouTube and see some past events. That's really good, and thank you for the community for supporting us. I can't say everything that Chuck said was historically factual, but it sounded real good. So I'm not going to pull that, you know. When smoke rises high, just let it go, you know. But on that note, Chuck, we'd like to give you a book that it's called Indian Rock. It's been out a few times. We look a little younger in those pictures. This is Cal State San Marcos, and got together to do this. And this is my sister, Diana Caudell, and she's a basket weaver and helps with the council. Also, Al Serta, who has helped in volunteering at Agua Hacienda with the mission, and he's our council member of the San Luis Rey Band. And there's a few people that couldn't be here today, so we just acknowledge the people that couldn't make it, and look forward to it's the 22nd year, I think, of our powwow coming up, and it's an honor to be here and be a part of this community with acknowledgement of that. We look forward to the future of connecting our culture more so with the city, maybe through art and things like this, because people still don't know about us. And we worked with Camp Pendleton. We were at the Camp Pendleton Heritage Historical Society, and we do a lot of work with them with artifacts, preserving some of the places that are special to us. And so it's good. Would you like to share?
Mayor Young, I also at the powwow, if you do come, it is for free, it's open to the public, that I have a booth there that I kind of do the baskets and demonstration, but we also teach basketry, and it's free to the public, and we have a lot of kids come back, and the adults and everything else. I'm also involved with the California Indian Basket Weaver Association. I sit on the board, so we're statewide, and this is something that we put together back in 1993, that it's to promote and preserve the tradition and culture of the Native American people in the state of California. And one of the things is basketry, so I'm pretty adamant on that. Thank you.
And just a couple other things here in Oceanside. We had the honor of establishing Luisenio Park here in Oceanside on the corner of Douglas and Vandergrift. And we have set up some public exhibits there. And also at the Gohomey Ranch House, we have a we have a Luisenio room with a nice display of some of the artifacts and some of our history. Yeah, and the park, Louise Bassett Children's Playground, who was a big advocate here for Louise Bassett School for our rights and here being established with Native American. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, and thanks for rounding up everybody to come down here, especially your sister. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and give the closed session report. The City Council met earlier this afternoon to discuss item 1 on the closed session agenda, conference with labor negotiator involving the Oceanside Police Officers Association non-sworn. There is no reportable action under the Brown Act on that item. Council also met on item 2A, conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation in the matter of one case, and item 2B, conference with legal counsel on pending litigation in the matter of BGT Media versus City of Oceanside, and there is no action under the Brown Act to report on item 2. Thank you.
Consent calendar?
Yes, consent calendar items 4 through 9.
Move approval.
Second.
No public.
Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0. Item number 10.
Item number 10.
Yes, item number 10 is initiate text amendments to the zoning ordinance to facilitate agricultural-related commercial, industrial, and recreational uses such as limited food processing, limited retail sales, and camping as incidental uses on sites primarily used for agricultural purposes.
Welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Deputy Mayor and Council Members. Deanna Larson, Assistant City Manager, and hopefully they bring my PowerPoint up. It's on the screen here. There we go. So tonight we have an item for you regarding agritourism and recommended next steps from staff. So as you're all aware, back in August of 2016, we had a presentation on our agritourism strategic plan, and council at that time authorized staff to proceed with implementation of the Tier 1 activities. That included a variety of components intended to develop and market agritourism activities in Oceanside with the overall goal of providing visitors with a real farm experience while using a variety of tourism and community marketing activities. In order to implement the marketing and outreach components of Tier 1, the staff did contract with Visit Oceanside to facilitate marketing and education. As part of that effort, we held 3 public workshops on January 31st, February 28th, and June 15th of this year, with over 200 attendees and a variety of topics about agritourism, starting an agritourism business, what is agritourism, regulatory considerations, marketing insurance, a wide variety of matters associated with agritourism. businesses. And as part of that, surveys were conducted to get input from the participants, and they identified several agritourism business proposals that they were currently interested in pursuing. Some of those included things such as avocado oil and production, U-Pick operations, farm-related museum, camping cabins or homestays, a brewery, a market or mercado, and coffee roasting, amongst other kinds of activities. Also, under the contract with Visit Oceanside, they developed a landing page on their website called Locally Grown in Oceanside. That site houses all of the agritourism-related initiatives, including the presentations that were made at the workshops and additional information. And they also engaged in a number of marketing and promotional activities that resulted in an estimated 46 million media impressions. And you can see on the screen there a screenshot of the webpage, as well as a couple of the many articles that we received around the idea of agritourism and Oceanside as a destination for farm-to-table and agritourism-associated activities. So as an outgrowth of the workshop input that we heard, staff identified a need for zoning text amendment in order to facilitate agriculture-related commercial, industrial, and recreational businesses within the agricultural zone in order to meet the goals and intent of the Tier 1 of the agritourism strategy. Some of those potential text amendment uses could include limited food processing, limited retail sales, camping, and similar kinds of activities. And this recommendation was presented to the Economic Development Commission at their meeting on October 10th and unanimously recommended to the City Council. As part of this recommendation, Economic Development and Planning staff will evaluate and recommend uses that are secondary to the primary agricultural functions of the property, that expand agribusiness in order to service the needs of the agricultural areas and help them become more economically viable, that do not result in land use incompatibilities that place constraints on agricultural activities, and that do not have significant agricultural impacts, all of which are intended to stay within the scope of the Tier 1 activities. And then staff would also host a community workshop to present our initial recommendations and get feedback prior to going to Planning Commission and then to City Council with the actual proposed text amendments. And so with that, our recommendation and that of the Economic Development Commission is that the City Council direct staff to initiate text amendments to the zoning ordinance to facilitate agricultural-related commercial, industrial, and recreational uses such as limited food processing, limited retail sales, and camping as incidental uses on sites primarily used for agricultural purposes. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
We have 8 public speakers on this item. I will
2
call
minutes
you.
each.
2 minutes each.
Yeah.
I will call you at 2 at a time. You can line up at both podiums. First, we have Leslie Gall, followed by Lisa Hamilton.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for your time. My name is Leslie Gall, and I'm with Visit Oceanside. And I just wanted to take a minute to give you some feedback tonight that we received throughout the Tier 1 activity process. We did a survey after every workshop, and I just wanted to give you just a couple of the highlights from that. We had 61 responses from the survey. We did survey all the stakeholders in South Morrow Hills Association to give them the opportunity to give us feedback. The first question that we asked were, are you currently a farmer or a rancher? And 53% said yes, and 47% said no. So we had a good representation from both farmers and residents. We asked how important it was to them to preserve agriculture. 70% said it was very important, 25% said important, 3.8% said neutral, and just 1% said not important. We also asked them if they were able to attend the first workshop, and 76% of the respondents did attend the workshop, with 24% of them not. There were a lot of people interested in some sort of agritourism experience. They were just about everybody was open to the idea, but we did have a large percentage at 38% that were open to things as additional wineries, boutique hotels, restaurants. So it was open to some significant opportunities to generate revenue out there. After the second workshop, 9 of the 25 participants that filled out the on-site survey said they were interested in incorporating an agritourism experience on their farm. And then we had another 20 attend that final third workshop to learn how to do agritourism business plan and get more hands-on tools in doing that. And just finally, I just want to recognize the positive momentum that we created through the Tier 1 activities. You can see there was a lot of support in moving forward with those activities. So on behalf of the stakeholders in the tourism industry, I just respectfully ask that you continue to encourage this momentum by supporting staff recommendations for the text amendments. This will allow the flexibility needed by the farmers who desire to not only remain in our community, but continue to invest in our community. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, council members. I'd like to speak in support of Article 10, concerning the zoning amendments to uphold the agricultural zoning of Morrill Hills and other agricultural areas of Oceanside. And the Tier 1 uses are explained as limited small-scale commercial production. Right now, we have fairly large-scale agricultural production out there of avocados and tomatoes. That this does not mean that we don't want those to be there. We do want to support those farmers who have been doing this, and we hope that they will continue to do this. The SOAR initiative, which is support our agricultural and open space resources, to get a ballot initiative requiring a voter approval of changes to agricultural uses supports Tier 1 uses. We are somewhat less enthusiastic about Tier 2 because it's not as clear as in camping and zip lining uses. These don't so much relate to agricultural uses, but we in general, and I personally, support Article 10 here. Thank you.
Our next two speakers are Kim Murray and Luis Balma.
Two microphones, no waiting. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, council members. I'm Kim Murray with Beach House Winery. I just here in favor of the proposed changes, and I want to thank you for all the support that the city council and staff have provided to us for over the last 3 years. Louise Balma and myself, in association with the South Morrill Hills Association, started the agritourism discussions 3 years ago, and it's really taken a long time. We started our winery back in 2010. We just bottled and debuted our first estate wine this year, so 7 years. Our agricultural community, it takes a long time to take steps to move forward, and it's truly important in working with city staff, the officials, leaders, that we can make and maintain and retain our agricultural community and the resources that are out there. So I really appreciate the support that you have provided to South Morrill Hills and to agritourism and your city staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Louise Balma, 745 5th and Indian Road, and I live in the agricultural region of Oceanside, and I'm proud of it. I'm here to basically offer my support for the staff and for Visit Oceanside for all they've done, and to encourage also you to support agritourism. I offer 4 simple reasons why. 1, it gives more opportunities to our farmers of Oceanside to help them keep farming, which is what we want. 2, it's environmentally having farmland in Oceanside helps us combat climate change. It provides the local food sources. It helps shrink the size of waste system sent to the landfill and improves our water and air quality. 3, it limits urban sprawl by preserving the farmland, improving the quality of life for our citizens and our neighbors. And number 4, which is probably most important to you, is it provides an agricultural experience for our visitors and for residents.
which will provide a revenue stream for the city of Oceanside. As you know, Temecula brings in millions of dollars annually with their agritourism efforts, and they have a much hotter climate, and they don't have ocean views. So we need your support and vision for the future of agritourism and agriculture in Oceanside, because once we pave it over, it'll go away forever. Thank you.
Our next two speakers are Michelle Castellano and Neil Nagata.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Castellano, and my family is Milano and Company, and we farm about 300 acres in the South Morro Hills region, so we would be one of these commercial farmers. I'm here to support this process as well. I think we have to remember one of the reasons that we came to this place and why Luis and Kim and everyone came together a few years ago is that agriculture is being threatened, especially commercial agricultures like ourselves, people who depend on the crop and the profits of the crop to pay the bills. And between government regulations, offshore competition, water rates, everything, it's getting tougher and tougher. And one of the reasons that we all came to the table was there was a seeking of keeping agriculture in that area and keeping farmers like us farming. And so agritourism is a way to bring another income stream to a farmer like ourselves. If we can't pay the bills just growing and selling flowers based on the competition and the cost, if we can have that tourism aspect and bring that experience, it can help keep us in business. And so that's why we joined this group and are very supportive of this group. I think what we do need to realize that when people say we want to keep the agriculture out there, there are the economics of it. And while Tier 1 is great, I don't know that Tier 1 is going to keep agricultural operators like ourselves in business. We have to consider Tier 2, and we have to consider that some infrastructure probably would have to come with that agritourism. That experience brings cars on very small roads. It brings people using toilets that probably would need sewer and things like that to consider. So I just want us to keep the bigger picture of what agritourism means and keeping people like us in business. And I can speak to it later, but the SOAR initiative, though it says it's preserving agricultural resources, would actually put agricultural operators like ourselves out of business. So I want us to keep the bigger picture of what agriculture looks like and how we stay in business out there, which is what my family and other agricultural operators are passionate about doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Mayor, City Council members, thank you for allowing me to speak. I am Neil Nagata. I'm a third-generation farmer and a third-generation Oceanside resident. I'm currently serving as the president of the San Diego County Farm Bureau, and we have lived and farmed in Oceanside since the 1930s. I support the effort for agricultural tourism in the South Morro Hills area. In fact, I participated in many meetings about agricultural tourism and the development of this to our area. It is important that we acknowledge the need to create a plan which will allow for growth, including infrastructure. Without the ability to grow and expand infrastructure, traffic, tourism in this area will not be economically feasible. We have worked with city staff and spent much time on continuing the conversation to move forward on this plan. This is also why we oppose Oceanside SOAR initiative. SOAR will damage our ability to farm and make necessary changes to South Morro Hills and agricultural land in Oceanside. SOAR will only damage our ability to make agricultural tourism work. I've heard many complaints about the cost and traffic agritourism will bring to our area. I say when our family first came to Oceanside, most of the roads, the sewer, the infrastructure, including schools and fire stations throughout the city, did not exist. We did not stop people interested in moving into Oceanside to stay out and not have places for them to live or work because it would cause us difficulty or increase our tax dollars. We provide food for our local community and thousands of people throughout the United States. We have provided thousands of jobs throughout the time that we've been in Oceanside. We still employ many people and have been an economic contributor since the 1930s. Although SOAR suggests that it will help agriculture, I'm here to state that SOAR will only harm agriculture, agricultural tourism, and those of men who've worked hard for many generations. So please support the agricultural tourism effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker is Larry Balma.
Honorable Deputy Mayor and council members. I'm Larry Balma. I live at 745 Sleeping Indian Road. Been farming 25 acres of avocados and nursery palms I'm currently the president of South Morrow Hills Association, and I want to thank you for your support of our agritourism study over the last couple of years here. The project has been very informative, and staff has been a pleasure to work with. We have a good understanding of the business opportunities that will be compatible with our South Morrow Hills agricultural neighborhood. Our South Morrow Hills Association Agritourism Ad Hoc Committee is excited at the possibility of continuing to work with the City of Oceanside Planning Department. Our goal will be to expand business opportunities in Article 14A of the City of Oceanside zoning ordinance. Thank you from the South Morrow Hills Association for your foresight to help save and enhance our beautiful agricultural area for both large and small farmers, estate homeowners, and future Oceanside visitors. We will work together with the planning staff to provide opportunities that will add economic growth to the City of Oceanside while preserving our agricultural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further public on this item.
Okay. Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for coming back to the council. It's been a few months since we last had this conversation. I want to thank you all for really being participants, very, very active participants with respect to this notion of an Oceanside vision of agritourism in our South Morrow Hills community. I want to thank Leslie Gall, Visit Oceanside, for just really jumping at the chance of getting involved here with this idea that we can actually make our agricultural lands, or assist our agricultural lands to continue to be economically viable. And that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about creating a Temecula. We are talking about doing our own version of agritourism, and there's so much talent. I'm just so amazed at what has been happening out in South Morrow Hills with our farmers, with our Beach House Winery, with the events that you have out there showing the produce of many of our farmers. So I'm really excited about this. I was actually ready to go to say, yes, let's keep going to, tier 1, tier 2. It seems that the council's direction was to slow it down a bit, even though I really want to go faster. I do believe that this is something that we need to partner with because this is the bottom line, it is about the economic and environmental future of Oceanside and its citizens. So the staff was looking for direction, and they're asking us to direct staff to initiate text amendments to the zoning ordinance to facilitate agriculture-related commercial, industrial, and recreational uses, such as limited food processing, limited retail sales, and camping as incidental uses on sites primarily used for agricultural purposes. And that would be my motion. That would be my direction, and I'm just really excited. Thank you.
Second.
Is it me?
Councilmember Kern.
Well, I was pointing at you. You want a second?
I did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're next.
All right, we're just looking at each other, we're pointing at each other. So
You're next.
the deputy mayor seconded, so you got that. Actually, I had the opportunity, excuse me, to attend the first workshop. It was pretty exciting. I'm getting choked up just talking about it. And about the opportunities, we had people down from Temecula and other farming regions that talked about what they've done with agritourism. And it kind of opened my eyes to what the potential out there that we can with agritourism. So I'm very supportive of this. I think we're going to move forward and have other opportunities for other crops out there that we can actually make farming viable. And maintain a strong farming community here in Oceanside. So I'm very supportive of this motion. Thank you.
Councilmember Feller, you didn't? Nothing? Okay. So I have a couple of questions. So the council approved the Tier 1 activities. The steps that we are talking about today are part of the Tier 1 process?
Right.
Correct. We are intending to stay within the spirit and scope of Tier 1 and look for activities that don't require extensive additional infrastructure or have significant impacts upon the area that are compatible with the existing agricultural operations.
Okay. And then on the staff report on page 3, it says, economic development and planning staff will recommend uses which, quote, do not result in land use incompatibilities which place constraints on agricultural activities. Can you explain a little bit about that? What kind of land use are you referring to?
We would evaluate what the proposed potential uses would be. We'll look at a variety of examples in other agricultural regions and evaluate the appropriateness of those uses for Oceanside. And as part of that, we'll make sure that the nature of those activities don't constrain other agricultural activities, whether they would be bothered by farming occurring on an adjacent property, et cetera. We'll keep that in mind to make sure that they can coexist in a positive way for the future.
So the real farmers who have larger operations can continue to operate under this agritourism.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in the last 6 months, as the chair of the Medical Marijuana Ad Hoc Committee, I met with a number of farmers, both at our meetings and also at the Farm Bureau meeting that I attended. And they many of them live and work in Morrow Hills, and they're very concerned about that they need to have alternatives to their regular produce. They can't make sufficient money on tomatoes that they're competing against Mexico, and avocados they're competing against Mexico also. So I hope that we can enable them to function within this new agritourism idea that I'm fully supportive of, and I believe the rest of the council supports it as well. So I want to be sure that we help the farmers. We can't just simply lower the water rates or make sure that their product sells for a certain price, but we do want to make them able to compete on the real market within what we have as a structure. And I would like, during this process, a definition of agritourism to be specifically stated within the guidelines that you're going to give us as it relates to Oceanside and Morrow Hills. I think all of us have a general idea about what agritourism is, but we need a real definition so that we can define the term legally. It doesn't have to be 100% solid, but it has to be something that we can at least look at and that makes sense. So when the community asks me about it, which they do, I'm able to say, well, what it means is, and we can move on from there. So I think it's really important for agritourism that we be as helpful as we can to the farmers and residents who live out there. And I'm excited to move forward on this. It has taken some time to do it, and I hope that we continue to move it ahead. So I think we can vote on this. Let's vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you.
Item number 11 is introduction of an ordinance adopting Chapter 3C, Article 1 of the Oceanside City Code, establishing flight rules for drones, civil unmanned aircraft, and model aircraft.
Welcome, Chief. I see you brought backup.
Yes, sir, I did.
Yeah.
Honorable Deputy Mayor, council members, tonight we would like for you to adopt an ordinance in regards to the Oceanside City establishing flight rules for drones, civil unmanned aircraft, and model aircraft. And tonight I'm going to invite Lieutenant Doyle up to give you a little background on this as to why it's needed, and we will answer any questions that you have once that's completed. Lieutenant Doyle.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Aaron Doyle. Where's Ramon at? Can you help me pull that up? Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Sometimes I'm technically challenged. My purpose here tonight is to provide some background for, as the chief mentioned, asking for support to adopt flight rules for drones, civil unmanned aircraft, and model aircraft. I would be remiss in my duties if I didn't first explain a little bit of the history of what has brought me here, and really how the use of unmanned aircraft and unmanned vehicles has kind of exploded in the last couple of years. So right around 2013, 2014, we saw some technological innovations and affordability with technology that really pushed commercial and private drone sales to some astronomical numbers. They're extremely affordable. They're pretty simple to operate, and based on that, they've become very popular in our culture. Drone sales increased 63% from 2014 to 2015. 700,000 drones were shipped to the U.S. in 2015. 3 million are estimated to be shipped this year. And the drone industry is currently worth an estimated $3.3 billion and projected to be worth $90 billion by 2025, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at as far as technology is concerned. So in 2016, due to growing sales and safety concerns, the FAA created CFR Title 14 Part 107. This established regulation and specific guidelines for commercial drones. Commercial drones specifically are classified as civil, which are business operated. We have some individuals that use them for weddings now, to record weddings. We have businesses that use them for real estate. And then we also have the public, which is for government or public agency use. What brought about this whole thing was, if you may recall, in 2015, the drone that landed on the White House lawn caused some concerns, and so a push was made then to the Department of Transportation and eventually to the FAA to come up with these rules. The rules that were created are reasonable and specific. I've listed a couple of them for you to see here. Fly with visual line of sight and or an observer. Daytime flights only. May not fly over people. Requires a pre-flight inspection. Notify air traffic control towers when you're in specific airspaces, and so on. Here's some of the problems with what we're seeing as far as federal regulation. FAA Part 107 does not apply to hobbyists or recreational unmanned aerial vehicles. It applies to the commercial side, which I had previously outlined. The FAA's regulations are federal, and as a result can only be enforced by federal entities, employees with the Federal Aviation Administration. Courts have ruled that state and local and tribal enforcement officers can't enforce, obviously, the FAA's Part 107. There was a case, and I don't have the specifics in front of me right now, but the judge in that case admonished local law enforcement that they were overstepping their bounds when attempting to enforce Part 107 rules and regulations. As a result of the increasing number of incidents involving drones, here are some of the cities that have already established local ordinances addressing flight rules. Barstow, Beverly Hills, Hermosa Beach, Laguna Beach, Manhattan Beach, Los Angeles, Poway, and West Hollywood. So specifically to the impact of Oceanside. From January to September of 2016, the police department received 13 911 calls of citizens reporting illegal drone operations or operations that they believed were concerning. This year, during the same time period, there were 23, and that was nearly double, short three of doubling our statistics. Some of the instances that we've seen this year just during the summer months was in June, the 85-acre blaze fire that occurred near the back gate of Camp Pendleton. CDF and Oceanside Fire, along with some other fire units, were calling in air support to drop water. At some point, ground crews observed an individual that had launched a drone, most likely to take photos, and as a result, they had to cease air operations for about an hour. I don't need to tell any of you the implications that has when you have a fire that's burning out of control. You have homes that are in danger and also eventually people. So that's concerning, to say the least. In July, we had an incident at the pier. An individual was flying his drone down on the beach. He lost the drone in the sun. It ended up colliding with a palm tree and came down and landed on one of the passerbys that was walking on the sidewalk. And it did cause injuries. And then in August, again, down at the beach, we had an individual who launched a drone, was going to take it out to the end of the pier. It lost its signal. He ran down to the end of the pier to intercept it, and probably didn't know that most of these electronics have a feature where if you lose the signal or if the battery starts to die, it automatically returns to where you had launched it. Well, in this case, enough time had gone by that the family had sat down on the beach, and when the drone returned, it landed dangerously close to a family and a small girl that was basically toweling off from getting out of the water. Those are just a few of the ones that I'm aware of, and each one of those occurred pretty much, 2 to 3 weeks apart. These are some of the quotes from the radio calls that we've received in dispatch. I wanted Deputy Mayor, you and the other members of the council to see some of the comments that the citizens have made when calling in these types of complaints. They range from people believing that their houses are being what we call cased. In other words, they're trying to establish information of whether the person is home or not before it's burglarized, to individuals who feel that their juvenile daughters are being watched by potentially peeping Toms. Lastly, we have a drone that was crashed into a palm tree and is stuck, and the individual called the fire department to get it out. I'm aware of cats being struck in a tree, but I've never seen a drone being removed from a tree. But that really just, I say that with lighthearted comment, but it really establishes where we are as far as technology and how it's changing the world around us. So adopting Ordinance 3C.1, it's really comprised of seamless integration of what the FAA has already established in Part 107. It enhances public safety without being unduly restrictive. This encourages individuals who have commercial licenses or who have a need to operate a drone over people down at the beach, over schools with permission or a special events permit. It allows them to do that. It encourages positive commercial and recreational uses, and provides the city with the necessary tools to address and enforce unsafe practices where the privacy and the safety of our community is at risk. I put up some basic language for those of you who may not had the time to review the ordinance in depth, but a lot of these are pretty straightforward items that we're recommending. That you should use line of sight. In other words, you shouldn't fly a drone and fly it around a building and lose sight of it, because you really don't know what's going to happen once it goes around the other side of the building. You should operate it during daylight hours. You should not capture, record, transmit any visual, image, audio recording of any person who has a reasonable expectation of privacy. That's either in your backyard, in a hotel room, in an office building, where normally you feel you have privacy. You should not record over schools while school is in session, in particular grades kindergarten through 12, without the express written consent of either the principal or another authority. And basically, that just establishes a need to film over a school with children present. And then, of course, we have interfering with firefighting, police activity, or emergency response. That's already detailed in California Penal Code Section 148.2 and 402. This is more just a supplemental. It's to supplement the penal code that already is established. And lastly, nearly all of the prohibited activities, unless they're illegal, you can be granted permission to do by either special permit. If somebody wants to film the 4th of July event down at the beach, you can do that as long as you go through special events and get a permit and have a need to do that. If you want to film over a school for some reason, and you talk to the school board or the principal of that school, and they say okay, then you can do that. The only things that you can't do are things that are illegal: annoy, vex, stalk. You can't obviously record where you shouldn't be recording, and it allows the police department and other individuals the authority to act when we are having these issues in the public. Certainly, I'm not standing here before you tonight saying that every person that owns an unmanned aerial vehicle or a drone is involved in that activity. Actually, I would say probably 95% of those people that own those are law-abiding citizens that want to go out and use it as a hobby. But it's the 5% that I'm concerned about, and it's the 5% that has been brought to our attention where right now we don't have any authority to act. Based on the aforementioned, staff recommends that the City Council introduce an ordinance adopting Chapter 3C, Article 1 of the Oceanside City Code, establishing flight rules for drones, civil unmanned aircraft, and model aircraft. And with that, I will answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Just have a seat over there with your legal counsel.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
No public on this item.
No public. Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. Yeah, I've actually received some of the complaints, not the ones almost hitting you on the head ones, but the privacy ones, where people are concerned that there might be some casing going on, you know. I see a lot of value in the drones because, number one, some of them can be very expensive. I mean, I looked at it as in terms of like a toy, right? But even the toy ones were, if you want to be able to go up, if you have a 2-story house or, you know, and you want to go over the house or something like that, like, you know, some of the tricks the kids are doing, they can be pretty expensive. So, but I do see the need to have some kind of control over the uses, especially during public safety events like a fire. So to require someone who might want to film, say, the pier area, the beach, to have to go out and get a special events permit, sounds like it would be good to do, but I think so long as the permit cost is not too prohibitive, because I see a lot of the video on social media, and some of it is just so amazing. It makes Oceanside look like paradise, right? So who wouldn't want to send these out into the world to say, hey, look at us. Take a first look at us. So how do we do it? To film the turkey trot, right? So long as it's not overly expensive and overly, it becomes prohibitive to, say, the average person who happens to decide to invest in this kind of, piece of, machine. I don't know what to call it. It can be very, again, I've looked into them. It's like, oh my gosh, thousands of dollars. I guess that's not going to be something I want to do, because I also saw, we also ended up having a couple of them land in our yard, and it was like, okay, who do they belong to? Who knows, right? No one ever knocked on our door to say, hey, did you see our drone, our little toy drone? So so that's my question. What are we looking at in terms of the potential cost for this, for special events? Would it be like $100 or less?
Councilmember Sanchez, I'm not sure if we've looked into what the exact cost would be. We would have to work with special events. I agree, we're not looking at making it so prohibitive for those folks that want to fly a drone. We're more specifically looking at somebody that wants to fly a drone over the beach and happens to keep it hovering over a group of individuals that feel that they're being violated. As Lieutenant Doyle indicated, 95% of those folks that are out utilizing these drones are using them in a professional manner and for recreational purposes. So whatever fee structure we come up with, we would encourage that it would be something that would not be.
Well, I tried to do it myself, and I was having a hard time making it move from one spot. So not, just having it hovering over like maybe looks like a group of people doesn't mean that it's intentional, right? It could just be that, you're trying to figure out the buttons and things. So, I just don't want this to be prohibitive. I think that there's a lot of creativity out there. A lot of students do it for projects. You would have thought that the pier and the beach area would be, because it's a very public area, would be an okay place to do it without a special events permit. But you've explained, you've given an example that there have been some problems on the beach, and therefore you want to include that area as part of having to get a permit. So I want to support this, but I also want to give direction that this not be prohibitive to like not just say an organization that can afford it to do it, but to the person who decides, yes, this is something I'm interested in doing, video photography. It can be very, very artsy, and I just want to make sure that this is not something, I love what some of the things that I've seen people do with the drones on, the harbor, the beach, the pier, even some parts of Oceanside. Like I can just see something like this in Morrow Hills, just showing, hey, see, look at us, right? Look at our, as an agritourism kind of commercial thing. So, can we do that? Can we make sure that it's not prohibitive in terms of getting a permit?
Councilmember Sanchez, council members, I believe the fee's already set. It's, if I'm remembering correctly, it's about $150 per event per usage. It's actually in the fee schedule already.
I'm thinking that's too much. I think that would be prohibitive to some, especially some artists who don't generally sell a lot of their art. So I'd like to see this be, well, it would certainly be a problem for people that I know. So I would like to go ahead and move that we introduce the ordinance, but I'd like to direct staff to look at reducing that fee. 150 is pretty steep. That's a motion.
Yeah, well, I'll second the introduction. Are you completed?
Yes.
Okay. Am I up next? Okay. A couple things. I'm sure you'll be back here. The technology is moving so rapidly and we're playing catch up. So it'll keep the attorneys and OPD busy over the next few years to figure out how we deal with these. And I see a couple people in the audience that it kind of relates to. One is Kathy Kinane and her event that's coming up, and I'm sure she'll talk about it later, about the turkey trot. And she has a special events permit probably before the city if it's not approved already. Can she just include that in her permit application without an additional cost? I can see a standalone permit if I wanted to go out and film a commercial. And all I'm going to do is fly around a certain area, get your permission to let everybody know, hey, there's going to be a drone in this area doing things. But when you have an event where Kathy and she has these streets already locked off, to have her fly a drone to film her event, is that something that we just add as a line item on the request for a special events permit? Will a drone be flying, yes or no, as the checkoff point? So I see the city attorney nodding, but I don't know what that means.
There you go.
I think that's a yes.
Okay, all right. And then, like the Sunset Market, which is every week, and the idea, and I'm sure that they, at certain times of the year they promote it. Obviously, we have the tree lighting ceremony, we have other events, so they have, I guess that's a standing permit, special event, to have them notify you that, hey, we're going to fly a drone to film our event tonight, just for a promotional purpose. That's part of their permit. But I can see a standalone permit if somebody wants to go out and film some type of a commercial, something like that, where they need to notify you, and we need to make sure that everybody's safe. It's almost like a special event in itself to make sure that we can do that. So, there is this thing about not making it too expensive, but the idea that we have to recover our costs. There's a cost involved to review the permit, the city attorney, the OPD about doing that. So I think as long as we keep everything within reason and as a cost recovery to monitor these things, I think that'd be appropriate. So, this is something we'll probably revisit in the future as we go forward. But, this is something that, 5 years ago, we wouldn't be here talking about it. Now it's become a problem. So the idea, I'm really supportive of getting the ball rolling. Thank you, Lieutenant Doyle, for coming forward and giving us the background information on that. Thank you. And I stopped just because I knew the deputy mayor was out of position.
Councilmember Feller.
I'll try to be brief. So you're saying that whoever's flying their drone at night over the fireworks they're shooting off on the beach is illegal?
Unless you get
the fireworks.
That's tongue in cheek. I mean, I watched it happen, so I'm pretty sure the fireworks are illegal too. So, but I'm going to get to the point of this doesn't prohibit some young guy getting a drone and flying it in his cul-de-sac or things like that. They're not coming to you for permits for every single, this is eventful things.
Yes, sir. It's primarily, first of all, it's a checks and balances system for us. I'm also one of the people who reviews the special events with Patrick Young. So it's a process for us to say, to make sure that the equipment is appropriate, number one. Number two, to make sure that there is no safety concerns for the individuals who they will be flying over. And number three, to let all the individuals involved, either with the city or the school district or whoever it happens to be, understand the reason for the permit. And those are all listed out in the special events permit. There's obviously narrative portions there where they can list exactly what they're looking for. In addition to that, to answer some of the questions is, I agree with you 100%. Our interest is not to create a financial burden on people that do want to use this technology. If someone is in a cul-de-sac, they're flying it during the day, they're not recording anything, they're not flying over people, then there's no concern there. If we get called to something like that, the officers can come out and contact the other party and just say, hey, there's no recording equipment on the drone, and it's a 14-year-old flying his Christmas present. That's not a problem. And as far as the beach is concerned, anybody can fly over water. The only reason that the beach and the pier were listed is because we've seen several instances where individuals, it's a big gathering place for us, both for tourism and for our residents and residents from outside the city. And so we just want to establish some protocol to make sure that people are safe while they're there. And if they are going to be flying over people, that we can do just a little bit of diligence and make sure that we're not endangering anyone while doing so.
My last question is, does the police department have drones? or the fire department?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yeah, I forgot my other question, the line of sight on the B, item B. That does not include binoculars. That would also be something that you could, you can go through a special events permit to be able to go be that high to be able to use binoculars to control the drone, right?
That's actually an intricate question. So visual line of sight is established through the FAA. That's for the commercial side of it. Even the commercial side of it, if we're going to use a drone, we can either, the pilot has to have visual line of sight, or an observer that has been deemed that position has visual line of sight of that actual aircraft. In order to fly beyond a visual line of sight, and I can tell you, so we had our drone training today, and we had it up right at just under 400 feet, and it was still visible. That's 40 stories, but you could still see it.
But not in the sun.
That's true, but, well, we wouldn't try and fly it into the sun to lose it, but you can see these drones for a very long distance, especially if you have reflectors on it. We have bike lights on ours, so we can see it from a distance so that we can still track where it's going. The visual line of sight rule, again, is for safety purposes. If somebody sends a drone, for instance, if they're down on the beach and they send it up over the Sunset Market, they can't see the buildings, they can't see the electrical wires, they can't see any other obstructions that they may have, and that's a safety issue, and it's going to cause a collision. So visual line of sight is required. If you want to go beyond visual line of sight and use an observer, then you would have to be within the commercial guidelines, which requires a license with the FAA.
Okay, well, again, I've seen some really beautiful video of the entire beach of Oceanside, and I don't know if you can still see it from wherever, that person launched it. So you're saying, but I mean, someone can still use binoculars just to enhance their ability to see it, to maintain control, right? I mean, it's not prohibited, it's just...
As long as, excuse me, Councilmember Sanchez, as long as the individual can still see it with their unaided eye, then they would be able to use binoculars.
Okay. And with respect to the special events permit, I've gone through this many years for the Noche Mexicana that we've had for 13, 14 years. And there's definitely a checklist for everything, trash, whatever. So I can see this being added on as are you going to be using a drone? In fact, I thought I saw that in the last application, that everything has a line, every line item has a cost. So we're still talking about a cost. I would hope that, again, that we would be looking at something less than 150, between 75 and 100. Hopefully it'll be, the process will be an expedited one so that it doesn't take a lot of staff time, and yet still encourages, students to do things like do a video of the beach and at the pier area and at the harbor and the mission, whatever. Thank you.
City Attorney.
Thank you. So I'm going to need to title this ordinance unless there's any other questions. But before I do that, there were a couple last-second changes to this that are very minor in nature that I need to read into the record. The intent of these changes is to allow the lifeguards to enforce the provisions of the ordinance in addition to OPD and code enforcement. So the first change is under Section 3C.1 under Purpose and Findings, and on line 4, at the end of the word aircraft, there's a new sentence that says, it is the intent of the City Council that this article be enforced by the Oceanside Police Department, the Code Enforcement Division, and the Lifeguard Division where appropriate. The second change is on Section 3C.4, Civil Liability and Reimbursement for enforcement services, and the word "or lifeguard" is to be added on line 19 after code enforcement officer. And then with that, I will title this is the introduction of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside adopting Chapter 3C, Article 1 of the Oceanside City Code establishing flight rules for drones, civil unmanned aircraft, and model aircraft.
Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0. Item number...
Thank you.
Can we take a break? We've got some kids here who would love to have our signature because they've been here.
We got one more. We got one more, and we're ready to go.
Can I take a break?
Make them earn it.
Just keep going. It's up to the chair.
Let's take 3 minutes then. We're taking off. Come on down. Anybody who has anything needs to be signed, just come on down. Any of us will sign it for you.
Today because we want people to learn about exercise and proper nutrition.
What we want to do is get the word out. What can you do to improve your health? If we can get people focused on their own health, then that perforates into the community. This is all about community outreach.
We hope that people will make even one lifestyle change, that they'll choose to get out and go for a walk.
It's important to walk because you need to get out and get exercise. Everybody needs to exercise.
We see over 2,500 heart disease and stroke events in Tri-City every year. We want to reduce that.
Heart disease is preventable. It is reversible. The most important thing is recognizing your symptoms and also getting routine checkups.
3, 2, 1, walk!
About 8 weeks out since I had open heart surgery for a clot, and I'm doing pretty well. I'm going to look to walk the entire 3 miles.
Walking for all the babies in NICU at Tri-City Hospital.
My sister is in Tri-City Medical Center right now. She just had a triple bypass. I came out to walk for her.
I am a survivor of a heart attack 7 years ago. I was at the gym and dropped down. I had a heart attack and I had a stent implanted. I am so grateful for the American Heart Association and the care that they provide to hospitals.
I had a sudden cardiac arrest, and I was one of the first patients at Tri-City Medical Center to get therapeutic hypothermia. I'm so glad to be here today and be part of the Lucky 13 program. We were looking to expand our programs and services up in the North County community, and we were looking for a strong partner to help us do that, and we knew Tri-City could help us do just that.
It's a huge collaborative event, and the American Heart Association, partnered with Tri-City, came together to make this a true community event, and I can't think of a better partner than the American Heart Association.
We have about 500,000 citizens that we feel we're directly responsible for. We are a community hospital, therefore we take care of our citizens from Vista, Carlsbad, and Oceanside. This brings the Heart Association and Tri-City closer to our people. Tri-City is in the forefront for Oceanside community work.
A lot of times we ignore symptoms, so very important, talk to your doctors. If you have any type of discomfort, any type of issues, make sure you tell somebody. So glad we made it out here. I hope this turns into a yearly bonanza for many, many years to come.
is keeping you from doing what you love, we want you to know about the Mazor Robotics Renaissance System, an innovation in spine surgery, first offered in San Diego at Tri-City Medical Center. Meet Dr. Paya Moazes. Dr. Moazes is among the most experienced surgeons using the Mazor Robotics Renaissance Guidance System. This system is 99% accurate, requires a shorter hospital stay, is safer and less invasive. Recover faster. Get back to doing what you love. Tri-City Medical Center. Advanced healthcare for you.
For over 30 years, KOCT has been a community media resource. KOCT exists because of viewers like you who want and need to stay informed about their...
Okay, we're going to resume the meeting now. Jimmy's bringing everybody in.
Great. So item number 12 is being continued to Wednesday, December 6th, and item number 13 is being continued to Wednesday, November 15th. Moving on to item number 14 is Kathy Nichol.
Yay. Nothing on the screen? Jimmy? Jimmy's right there behind you. He can help you set that up.
No, I'm not quite ready yet.
Okay.
And I've only got two, Jimmy, so I think I'm good. Thank you. Honorable Mayor, council members, viewing public, and attendees, my name is Kathy Nichol. I work at Main Street Oceanside, and I do a lot of other stuff too. October was a very busy month. I want to thank all the volunteers and businesses and their support of the Taste of Oceanside, North County Pride, Shop and Win program, and of course we ended the month with Haunted Market. So it was a great month for that. And then also, as the volunteer in charge of our 17th annual Oceanside Dia de los Muertos at the Mission San Luis Rey, I would like to thank, there's like way too many community partners out there to list, and our entertainment, our volunteers, Oceanside's Milano Flower Company for all the marigolds, the Mission and the parish for their overwhelming help and assistance for this year's Day of the Dead in Oceanside. And we hope that it will get approved to do it again at the Mission next year. But now we move on, since this is the very first day of November. We have a lot of stuff this month too. This Friday, First Friday Art Walk in downtown, November 3rd from 5 to 9 p.m. Over 15 businesses that will have art. I call it free date night in downtown, and the website is oceansideartwalk.com, or .org, sorry. And then, of course, I want to wish the U.S. Marine Corps the happy birthday on November 10th. Chuck also brought up our Veterans Day celebration at the Vance Center from 10 a.m. to 11:30 on Mission Avenue. Please thank a veteran for their service. Thanksgiving is November 23rd, and for years the Oceanside Elks Lodge has been open to the public for Thanksgiving dinner from noon to 4. They will again host active duty military and their families for Thanksgiving for free. Please contact them for a reservation. They are on 444 Country Club Lane. Main Street will again be doing a dining guide for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's for those restaurants open in the downtown during the holidays. And we will post it on our website and share it with Visit Oceanside and the Chamber. And then on November 25th, we start out the holiday season with 'Tis the Season to Shop Local, right after on November 25th through December 22nd, we do our second year of Shop Local, distinctively local holiday celebration, inviting the community to explore Oceanside retail establishments and to shop local during the holiday season. With our Small Business Saturday Sip and Shop, this unique and dynamic lineup of the holiday programs, a Merrymakers Fair, all in the downtown. And then we are also doing a 'Tis the Season window decorating contest, holiday themed window decorating contest, which we do in conjunction with the City of Oceanside, and our Shop Local Holiday Passport program, a stamp-based program where you can win prizes. And all that's on our shoplocaloceanside.com website. And then I'm doing a preliminary opening for our collaboration with the city.
I guess that'll be the last thing.
On December 7th, the very first Thursday of December, we do our holiday tree lighting ceremony in downtown. And of course, it's kids' activities, milk and cookies, and of course, our special guest, Santa. And it will be, because we had a meeting today with Eileen, in the Regal Plaza. So we're very excited about that, and I'll be back in December to discuss that and our beginning of the holiday gift market season. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. You can come back in November. Yeah. Please.
Actually, Gumar will be back at the middle of November to go over further the Shop Local program, and he will pop this up.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Great. Next, we have the Be the Resistance Club from Oceanside High School.
2 minutes. Already on. Well, it's a 2-minute item then.
All right, you're on the clock, ladies.
All right, so good evening, respected council members. We are part of the BTR, Be the Resistance Club at Oceanside High School. And the main goal of our club is to promote a drug-free lifestyle and to encourage students to stay away from any type of drug use.
We wanted to share our efforts around Red
Just a
Ribbon.
sec, Mr. Mott, can you show them how to put that on the overhead so it gets televised at home? Thank you.
We wanted to share our efforts around Red Ribbon Week that took place last week on our Oceanside High School campus. We placed large posters all over our campus to send positive messages to students on the dangers of drug use and why they should stay away from it. Students saw the posters during breaks and also while they walked from class to class.
We are also here to show our concern of the Regal Theater downtown wanting to sell alcohol. This is our local theater, and we don't think alcohol has a place there, especially when there are many other places nearby that sells alcohol. We hope you like our posters, and thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Our next two speakers are David Michael and Kathy King.
Can you get the second person, the second speaker at the other?
Yeah, I announced. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
There you
go. Okay.
Oh, is there
You're
no
up.
speaker?
Mr. Michael, you can go first.
Oh, thank you. Hey, good evening. My name is David Michael. I'm with Veterans Cannabis Group. We are an organization that works with veterans to assist them in information and knowledge of how they can use cannabis to treat PTSD, how they can also have safe access to cannabis, and navigating their VA benefits, working with the VA, getting their claims submitted. We've been working for several years now in the state of California to ensure military veterans are given proper information. And I'd like to say that I appreciate the students up here talking about drugs, and they did not say marijuana, anything in that. So that was very much appreciated. So the reason I'm here today is I'm urging you to act on getting a plan together to support a marijuana dispensary here and giving veterans safe access to this medicine that has been known to treat the effects of PTSD, as well as being a very, very good substitute for opioid management. The passing of Prop 64 has happened, and the state of California has spoken. The cities are moving in this direction, and with the policy currently in place as of 1/1/2018, delivery operations, which are the only way for veterans to get access to that medicine here in Oceanside, will essentially become illegal. So I would really like to see an access point here in the city of Oceanside where veterans can go and access that, because the cannabis industry creates jobs. And I also believe, in addition to the treating PTSD and opioid management, that this is a career and a job issue as well. And I think that the magnet that we have here in Southern California as it relates to keeping and attracting veteran talent is broken. For a number of reasons, but I think that has also been shown the cannabis industry does create careers. So between the two of those, I really urge you guys to vote on this and give us safe access to the medicine that we need.
Thank you.
I'm also a Navy veteran. I'd like to say thank you to the folks that you spoke with here this evening. The other thing is I've noticed kind of the average age of the veterans here in Oceanside, and I don't think it's getting any younger. And I'd really like to see that start to change. And I feel like this is a step in that right direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy Kinane. I'm the race director of the Oceanside Turkey Trot and the executive director of the Move Your Feet Before You Eat Foundation. And coming up is our 12th annual Pacific Marine Credit Union Oceanside Turkey Trot, and it is presented by Tri-City Medical Center. And last year was the first year of our senior mile, and I bet you all want to know what happened. Well, our oldest competitor was 96 years old, and her name was Mickey Stoloff. And unfortunately, Mickey did pass away this year recently, but now her family is going to have a huge team there, and it will include grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and a very extended family. We expect to double our attendance this year with the senior mile, and it does happen the day before on Wednesday, and we provide parking for shuttles and handicap down at Betty's Lot. And the turkey trot is on Thanksgiving morning, for any of you that are unaware of that. And I'd like to especially thank the City of Oceanside and the staff of the City of Oceanside and all the volunteers that work so hard to make this happen, and of course the media who helped get the word out. We're anticipating about 8,500 to 9,000 runners this year. About 4,000 of them actually have residents in the City of Oceanside. It's an event that attracts from 46 states and 460 cities. And last year we were fortunate enough to have one of your local residents, Ann Garrett, featured in the Wall Street Journal. This is some of the swag you'll be getting this year: medals, t-shirts, and really cool foam hats. The event raises money for the schools. We raised about $270,000 over the past 11 years. And more importantly, we have probably 3 or 4 live TV stations every year. So we want to invite everybody to come down, and if you're worried about parking, we have great shuttles from Maricosta in the Senior Center that'll drop you off right down at the start-finish line. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody this year. Come move your feet before you eat on Thanksgiving Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So it's okay to invite friends from Carlsbad?
Yeah, we have 1,800 that come from Carlsbad.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
this will be 1,801 this year then.
Yes, we're very happy that you're going to be coming down and bringing your family and being there. And Jack will be there again this year, and we're very excited. We have a great group, and the media has been giving us great coverage for the event already.
What's the distance of the whole route?
So you can do a 5K, which is 3.1 miles, or a 10K, which is 6.2 miles, or if you have time, like I know you're a runner, you can do a 15K.
Not a runner.
So I timed it so you can do the 5K and the 10K. The little kids have a 1 mile and a quarter mile, and then our seniors, 65 and over, can do a 1 mile run, walk, and a 400-meter push or walk with a walker. Because we just want them to come down and, be a part of Thanksgiving and family as well.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're there.
So you're going to have a drone that follows Councilmember Feller as he does the...
Yeah, I'm making a plan for that. No, he's going to be dressed up like a turkey. Yeah. Well, normally I give him a ride so he doesn't have to go the whole way. So, But we're excited to have everybody come down and join us. As you all know, it's a great family event in Oceanside. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next 2 speakers are Adrienne Hakes and Cindy Rocco.
Good evening. I'm Adrienne Hakes, resident of Oceanside, and the current secretary of the library board, which I'm going to share some news for you. We're really excited. We've had some really interesting things happen this last month. We had 133 in attendance at our Halloween party. I don't know if any of you made it. I didn't, but I was really jealous when I saw how many had been there. It was a magic show on the 21st of October. And this weekend, we have several staff members going to a conference in Riverside, the Library Association for the state, and they will be sharing some of their experiences and how they get some of the grants that they do each year. Okay, sorry, I have to turn my page. Several new adult literacy tutors have been trained and cleared to start working with adults to improve their reading skills, so the word needs to get out that they're looking for people to help read, and there is no charge for this program. And the reading center is just behind the business, on the east side of the business building of the City Hall. Excuse me, and there's no charge to the student, and it's volunteer hours, and they adapt the hours to meet the need of the tutoree, I guess, I don't know, student.
Tutoree.
We have more good news. We're going to get new wraps for our library bookmobiles. They're currently being designed, and they will be installed between Christmas and New Year's when the bookmobiles are refurbished and serviced. They are going to have one side that will have information about the library, and then the other side will have a different side picture. Sorry. And finally, we just completed the successful read of One Book, One San Diego, and we're looking forward to our big read, which is a federal grant for reading, and we will be reading Station 11 by Emily St. John Manville in March and April. So we hope you'll join us for the activities that we do around the big read. You'll all be invited, so thank you very much.
So you're talking about the library. Where do people find out more information online about the library
They
program?
can go to the Oceanside City
The
website,
Oceanside website.
and then look for the library tab and push that, and then they can,
Okay.
yeah.
Great.
Thank you for
Thank
asking.
you. Thanks.
Thank you, Chip.
Great. Our next two speakers are Kelly McCormick and Aaron Morin.
Hello, I'm Kelly McCormick, and just this afternoon I attended a Hunger Free Kids workshop, and the speaker from San Diego Hunger Coalition gave kudos to the City of Oceanside for your progress in feeding hungry children, and so I applaud you for that. And I ask you to also consider other action that you can take that supports families and children. And I'm specifically talking about permitting pot shops in Oceanside. I wanted to share, as I have before, that Colorado statistics show that homeless and transient populations there have increased as people are drawn by easy access to marijuana. In an area where we already are working hard to combat homelessness, is it wise to take action that could increase that problem? I'm talking about the push to permit the pot storefronts, and supporters have said permitting commercial businesses is necessary for access. But I remind you that they already have access. Oceanside currently has a permitted delivery service, and caregivers of patients are allowed to deliver to their homes as well. In addition, people are legally allowed to grow and possess their own supply. And there are countless tutorials online, and if they feel they want pot-infused food, pot butters, marijuana oil recipes, all those are also readily available online and don't have to be purchased at a storefront. So I would just urge you to take into consideration the unintended consequences of permitting commercial pot businesses. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Erin Morin. I live at 1241 Chambord Court in Oceanside, but I work out in South Morro Hills at 6467 Mapaloma Lane. I am here in favor for SOAR. And why is my family in favor for SOAR? I'll tell you why. We want to develop our own way of life. We have a business model out here, and I'm thankful that you passed the agritourism model. And this is why we need businesses in Oceanside. This is top priority. We have housing in urban areas that have transit that can get people to work, that are access near the freeways, to the railways, to things. We need to just do our part and plan ahead on preserving open space. Yes, some of my neighbors don't want SOAR, and I understand that because their businesses and things are not, and we're getting the same pressure too, but I can still sell my land. I can sell to a developer, but it's the developer's responsibility to do what is set in our neighborhood. If we want business models, that's what we want. If we want housing, it has to be on 2.5 acre minimum parcel. But you know why? So maybe they can grow their own food or do an inside kitchen and maybe do a home business. That there's a lot of people that are looking for land right now and probably trying to decide on a new start of a business. This is why agriculture is very important. We need that role model. We need that business. That is why we support, that's why my family and I support SOAR. Thank you.
Our next two speakers are Dennis Martinick and Elizabeth Warren.
I'm also speaking in support of the SOAR initiative, which is Save Open Space and Agricultural Resources. Again, a little history on it is that it started in Northern California. It's been very well supported in Ventura County. It's been in existence for over 20 years, and I think you'll find that the vast majority of the population there are happy with it. SOAR initiative is primarily a voters' rights initiative in that it gives voters in Oceanside the opportunity to vote on land use issues dealing with agriculture and open space. People are very concerned about the loss of open space and agriculture. The purposes of the SOAR initiative to establish a mechanism that provides for direct citizen participation in land use decisions affecting the City of Oceanside's general plan policies as they relate to agriculture and open space, and to minimize sprawl, reduce transportation costs, and preserve open space and farmland. SOAR is consistent and compatible with Tier 1 agritourism, so long as you're talking Tier 1 agritourism without extensive infrastructure. So we appreciate the unanimous vote earlier in support of agritourism, and we'll keep you updated as far as how the initiative is going. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
My name is Elizabeth Warren. I'm an Oceanside resident, 789 Aldea Drive, just down the road from Camp Pendleton's back gate. I am also a candidate for state assembly here in the 76th, so I'm taking an opportunity to actually speak about something that's been sort of debated online among folks that are concerned about the area. We had one lady just now talking about concern for the neighborhoods with retail cannabis establishments. I support our ad hoc committee and the enabling of retail operations for medical cannabis. I think that we have a great opportunity here to provide a model that other cities can see demonstrates we can provide safe access for patients. Not everyone can grow their own. I know we have one collective here that is licensed and they are quite overburdened. I know that the couple that runs it have very little free time. They're working very hard to provide patients with the information they need to grow their own. What we might also talk about is CBD, which is a non-psychoactive substance. It's not that easy to extract on your own, so it would be nice for patients to have access to that as well. It's being talked about a lot, and since we're hearing the negatives, I think we should also talk about the positives. As well, we are talking about a little bit about, okay, is it going to draw homeless people? I don't know that medical marijuana being available here on the retail level would do that. If we have the making part covered, also, we won't be dealing with bars on the windows and something that looks like a, eyesore. I would urge you to stay with the work of the ad hoc committee and make it available to medical patients as a start so that we can demonstrate to other cities in the state that it can be done right, safely, and responsibly. Thank you very much. Elizabeth Warren, candidate for Assembly 8076 and resident. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Michelle Castellano.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Castellano, and as I said earlier during the agritourism discussion, my family is a commercial farmer in South Morrow Hills, and I did want to voice my opposition to the SOAR initiative. One of the things that's happening out in South Morrow Hills, we talked earlier about the difficulty for especially commercial farmers. South Morrow Hills is what we call gentleman farmers and commercial farmers. So gentleman farmer, not necessarily reliant on their crop to pay the bills, so to speak, and then the commercial farmers, those of us who do. The SOAR initiative, though saving agricultural resources, does nothing to help keep us in business. One of the reasons that we were talking about the agritourism opportunities is a way to keep us farming, which is our passion, and to provide that revenue stream to keep us in business out there. The SOAR initiative is not supported by the commercial farmers out there or by the Farm Bureau. One of the things that it also restricts us in two ways. One is our financing. As a farmer, our financing is our land. Our land backs all of our loans, and when an initiative like SOAR goes in, our land value goes down, and most banking institutions will no longer finance our operation. So right off, it pretty much puts us out of business unless we can personally finance our 300-acre farm, which we can't. It also restricts our ability to be agile. If we want to change crops, if we need to build a cooling facility, there's things that we have to be able to do out there, and if we have to go to a vote of the people for some of those things, we can't do it. We can't deal with the marketing, I'm not sure, to educate the people of what that's about, and the speed to be able to do it if we change a crop or there's an opportunity out there. There's a misconception because there is a development taking place, well, I shouldn't say it's taking place, the integral project that's being proposed on a piece of land out there, that if that passes, the SOAR initiative is saying it's a domino effect. All of us farmers are just going to fall in line and develop our land, and that's just not true. If that were true, we'd be in front of you asking with Integral or another group like that to develop our land. Instead, we're at the table with agritourism trying to work with everybody to preserve it out there for the best of all of us. So my red light's on. Thank you very much. Michelle Castellano with Milano & Company, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker was Francis Kazierski. He seems to have left. He did leave a note on his thing that he wanted me to read his item, but I will just provide that to the City Council through the minutes. But just the headline was remembering Kristallnacht, Night of Broken Glass, something to do with an anniversary of that. So I'll forward that information to you later, but that's all the speakers I'll forward it to you. That's the end of the speakers on that item.
Thank you. Is that it?
That's all for the
item number 16.
Item number 16, yes.
Got it.
Item 16 is the adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside adopting ZA 16-00006 with California Coastal Commission suggested modifications.
We have two speakers on this item.
Okay. You want to go?
Arlene Hammerschmidt and Cindy Rocco.
Okay. Thank you. Cindy, thank you so much for the Kit Kat. This is just about enough to spoil my dinner.
Oh, no, I still have more. I just didn't get to you guys.
I think next year they should be about half this size. I don't want,
Oh, you want to go
Thank
first?
you.
'Cause I have this.
Yes. Arlene Hammerschmidt, 2390 Ivy Road. I studied up a little bit on this ordinance and the description, the previous description of open space, and its changed description of open space. The question I have for someone to answer, please, tonight, may we please have an example of what is currently zoned as open space that would no longer be zoned as open space with the adoption of this ordinance? I rather like the way it was written before. The way it's written now is kind of generic, a lot of room for interpretation. So I'll be quiet if there's an answer, or I'll sit down and we'll wait for an answer, and maybe someone will ask it.
If you could, Jeff Hunt is in the audience. Perhaps he can assist you.
Say again?
Jeff Hunt is in the audience, and he can assist you with your particular questions. If you have additional ones, the city
I
planner.
would like it to be public information.
Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Thank you.
Chair and council members, the ordinance before you tonight is part of the city's attempt to consolidate our zoning ordinances. We have three: the downtown, the inland, and the coastal. What this provision does is it merely takes the coastal provisions and inserts them into the 92 ordinance, Article 15, and then Article 15 will go to the Coastal Commission for certification. The ordinance does not change the zoning of any land. There's no map change at all. So it's merely a text consolidation.
And we've already voted on this, so this is the second reading of the item.
That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, this is the one to do the final passage of the ordinance. And first of all, Cindy Rocco, South Oceanside. Wait, how do I get, hang on. No, where's my screen? I apologize. I just want, Honorable Deputy Mayor and Councilman and men, I just want to take the time to ask for your consideration on two items. And I realize I'm so late on the train on this. It started in, because of ZA 16, that was in 2016. And you try to keep up on all the reading, and it's really hard with all the zoning amendment and text changes, which I know the planning department must have their hands full on it. But I wanted to make a request if there was a way to remerge. Sorry, my time's ticking. Thank you. To remerge Article 14, Section 1410.1 into the ordinance, and to also, secondly, just improve overall the process of when we do make text changes, the way that it is organized for easy read and information. So, in 14, it says it has a really, really clear intent on what open space is. And here is the one page of the definition of the open space on Article 14. The other one is 7 pages of the changes. Some of them have the outline, they just disintegrated the whole text with cut-throughs, and it's very hard when you're changing an amendment to go ahead and put in what was new, what was struck out, etc. And in here it says that the parkland is very easy, recognize those areas which possess natural aesthetic attributes of open space and have the amenity of openness as part of their site character. So, for example, permitted uses right now are parks, golf courses, cemeteries, and then any areas of natural open condition when deemed desirable and necessary to be presented in that condition in the interest of public health, safety, and welfare. And I just want to say right now, this, from here, there's no way that you could see that that is parks, that is open space. It's just, one second. It does not clearly state what open space is, and the one issue I do have is classification. Classification allows PC and City Council to consider the most appropriate use of the site following discontinuance of large public-private open space
without the encumbrance of base zoning district that may or may not provide appropriate regulations for development of that site.
Thank you.
And that just leaves the door wide open. Thank you for the extra seconds.
No further public on this item.
Move adoption.
Thank you. Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. I want to restate my opposition to this. In effect, what is happening here is it is language. It is language formally, basically denying the citizens of Oceanside the changes that happened in 1992 to various zoning, various height restrictions, especially in the coastal, of course, in the coastal area. In my own neighborhood, for example, there was a very short period of time, I think 2 or 3 years, 86 to I want to say 89, where high density residential in the east side was allowed, and also I believe in Crown Heights, which I believe caused a lot of those problems, where you have market rate, high density, and then because they are market rate, you have several family members or even unrelated people living together in a small area. So 1992 laws that were passed in 1992 addressed these issues, especially since the city council had a lot of community members come forward to oppose what happened in 86. And I believe they were actually addressed in 1989, 1990, and then formally 92. The only problem was that in their wisdom at the time, the council did not require an amendment to the local coastal plan to formally adopt it. The thinking at the time was, well, the city can have more restrictive laws than, say, that are contained in our local coastal plan. That's basically a lot. That's just a lot of words to just say that we are now denying. After 25 years, we are saying, okay, we created a certain character for Oceanside, and now we're going to, just go allow increased densities and allow higher heights, when for 25 years people complied with the law. So I'm not familiar completely with the definitions of open space and how those changed, but there were significant differences between the 86 and 92. Again, this is formally getting rid of 92 and just making it look like 86, which I feel is going backwards and is not in the best interest of our citizens. Thank you.
I'm not ready to vote yet. One of the reasons we're doing this merging of the 1986 and the 1992 documents is so that we don't have every project that comes to the city appealed to the Planning Commission and appealed to the City Council. That's a reason to do that, not so that it does not give the developers more power, it gives them less power because they continue to pound the Planning Commission to let them get away with a third floor on a 2-story house that winds up being another enclosed deck. So we have had the Planning Department change zoning elements very recently as a result of the situations that continue to come to the City Council. I support this cleaning up of these two different ordinances because we literally every week are forced to meet with developers or concept builders or people who just want to remodel their homes and make them into 3 floors. This will help us address that. That's a small part of it, but it's a critical point. It's not simply to widen the table. It's very frustrating to have people come to the council when they've already gone through the Planning Commission or they've already gone through the Planning Department, they've made changes, and they come to the council to lobby us further so they can add this more on top of their project. So this does not open it up further. This restricts it so that there are less loopholes. That's what's important about this. It's not going to open it up for future developers to just go crazy, although that is what they ask us to do every time they have a project.
Deputy Mayor, with all due respect, that's not what this does.
Oh,
And perhaps
We're having a debate
staff
now.
can address that, but that's not what this does.
okay, let's close the discussion and go for a vote then.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, vote. Time for a vote. Sorry. Motion approved, 3-1. Sanchez, no.
Okay, that concludes the meeting. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, November 15th. The 3:30 PM is the closed session and 5 PM is the public.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, I just have to mention one thing. November 18th is the book sale. Everybody has to come to the Friends of the Library book sale, because the more books you buy, the less I have to carry.
And where will that be?
November 18th,
Where?
at the book room over by Code Enforcement.
Oh, okay, across the street. Thank you.
And